For example, sustainability is something that is now becoming a lot more important to everyone. Correct. So there might be a lot of brands that kind of end up coming up on that side of things across fashion, across different industries as well, right? Similarly, with food, it's all about health. Correct. I think veganism is becoming more and more popular across India right now.
The world of marketing is changing, and to keep pace with it, you need to create a new point of view that is original, authentic, and engaging. How to go about doing that? Stay tuned to the Marketing Redefined show. Hi, Krishi. Welcome to our show, Marketing Redefined. How are you?
I'm good, Muskan. Thanks a lot for having me here today.
Great, great. It's all my pleasure because really I want to understand something new today. And since you are here, we'll just start with a brief introduction about you.
Absolutely. That sounds good. Hi, guys. I'm Krishi. I am one of the co-founders at Thrive. Thrive is an online ordering platform for restaurants. And I think more recently, we've actually launched an aggregator platform as well in Mumbai, where we help restaurants generate their own demand and serve their customers directly via a single platform.
Wow. So, going a bit more into your brand, that is Thrive, please make me understand that what exactly is it that you guys do, and since how long have you guys been doing it? Where did the idea come from, really?
That's a great question, actually. Please mind me, the answer might be a little longer because I think
No
it would
issues.
it would make a lot of sense to take you through our long journey that we've had the
Please do.
last couple of years, right? So our journey actually started in 2016. The brand name was called Hashtag Loyalty at that point, and Hashtag Loyalty started off as a loyalty program as a service and a marketing CRM for essentially small and medium businesses, right? Now,
Okay.
when we started off with the idea that a lot of enterprise brands today had access to a lot of tools and technology. E-commerce was becoming bigger and bigger. Companies like that had access to data and all the fancy tools and so on and so forth, right? But SMBs were getting left behind because there was kind of like a lopsided playing field of sorts. So our objective there was to kind of create like a level playing field for small and medium businesses, so they could get access to enterprise grade marketing tech at a very affordable and cheap price. Loyalty was the touch point that we chose because we felt that was the easiest way to get customers to enroll and share their information so that brands could keep track of who their customers are, what they were purchasing, and then engage with them in that manner, right?
Right.
Uh, I think 2016 to 2020 is essentially where we kind of grew and ran Hashtag Loyalty. We scaled up, as I said, from a loyalty program as a service to a complete marketing CRM, where a business could engage with customers across different channels like SMS, email, WhatsApp, keep track of customer data, and also acquire customers through different tools that we kind of provided them, right? Now, one thing to note is that while we were kind of industry agnostic, we work with guys like in the entertainment space like Smash. We work with some of the best restaurants in the country. We work with a few retailers, online and offline retailers as well. But almost 80%, 85% of our customers have always been in the food industry. Correct. So that gave us a very deep understanding about the market, about the consumers in the market, and about how the restaurants kind of interact with each other and with their customers. Let's fast forward through those years to the pandemic, right? So I think March
Mhm.
2020 was the when the pandemic kind of kicked in. Now, unfortunately for us at that point in time, we were hit hard, like every all of our customers, right? Uh, we were very heavily dependent on people actually going out to make a purchase because that's how we collected customer data. And when I think around 15th or 17th March 2020, when the pandemic hit and the lockdowns kicked in, everything kind of came to a standstill. All restaurants, all retail shops, all everything else kind of shut shop overnight, right? Everyone was barred from doing any kind of physical business, and the only business that was taking place at that point was online. Correct, through
Right.
e-commerce websites, through aggregator platforms like Zomato and Swiggy, and so on and so forth. Correct. So this really took a big hit on our business because we decided very proactively before the lockdowns actually to kind of pause subscriptions for all our partners. given that there was not enough value that they would get out since people couldn't come in, right? The only consumption of our product at that point in time that was taking place was essentially restaurants trying to market their Zomato and Swiggy links to their customers so they could kind of drive some sort of business and survive. Correct.
Correct.
So that was a very tough spot for us because revenues dropped overnight, and we went from doing tens of lakhs of MRR to basically zero overnight, right? So it's a very difficult spot. But
Mm.
uh, in hindsight, I think that was one of the best moments for the business because it actually gave us a chance to take a step back. It gave us a chance to go back to the drawing board. I think we spoke to about 700 to 800 customers of ours in
Mm.
the restaurant space to understand essentially what we could do, how we could help them combat the situation that they were in, right,
Mm.
and kind of drive some sort of business in this pandemic. Correct?
Right.
Essentially, survive and thrive. And essentially, through those conversations, we realized that there was a big opportunity available here.
Mm.
On one side, we had the aggregators, which was Zomato and Swiggy. Uh,
Right.
Now, while these businesses have been instrumental in building up the online business for food in India,
Mm.
uh, they charge a lot of money.
True.
Most restaurants end up paying between 18 to 30% in commissions.
Mm.
Ads and any other discounts are on top of that. So the take rates are very, very high, right? It's almost not sustainable for a lot of restaurants to kind
Right.
of run this as a business. Keep in
Mm.
mind that a lot of typically pre-pandemic, the ratio of dine-in to delivery takeaway was 80-20. Correct. Now they were
Right.
completely dependent on these guys. So the impact on their bottom line was insane.
Mm.
Correct. At the same time, we looked at if a restaurant wanted to say set up a store, right? How do they do it? Correct.
Mm.
There were no options available. There were a few existing legacy platforms that were present, but
Mm.
they were in competing businesses with other point of sale companies, so they would not get integrations in place. And they had the ability to set up a store, but no way to fulfill the order. Correct. So it didn't help a restaurant with anything if there was no means of fulfill. So that's essentially how we noticed that there was a big opportunity in the space and why we kind of ended up launching Thrive, right? So Thrive
Right.
started off as a direct ordering platform for restaurants. We help a business set up everything from dine-in, delivery, and takeaway. And essentially, they can set up a store. They can manage their catalog. We're completely connected into their inventory. So either through our platform or to their point of sale. And we also give them the option. So we've partnered with a bunch of different 3PL companies in India to kind of
Mm.
help them fulfill these orders as well. Correct. So instead of a
Wow.
restaurant worrying about how to fulfill the order, we've actually
Mm.
broken that barrier for them. We partner with, say, 8 partners in India. For the restaurant, once it's operational, the process is very seamless, right? Just like the
Right.
aggregators, uh, orders
Mm.
placed, orders accepted, riders automatically allocated based on price, distance, serviceability from the partners. And
Mm.
a rider goes and picks up the food and then delivers it to the customer. Correct. So we've tried to
Okay.
keep the experience very similar to what we have on the consumer side and what we have on the restaurant side, more importantly, because otherwise it
Mm.
would have been a nightmare for the staff.
True. Very true. But I think so that is great because the ideology behind it is very good, and the way you reached it is very great. Because I remember, as I talked to all of these founders and everybody, that COVID was that turning point for almost all the brands, whether it was for the good or the bad, and turning it overnight. I think so. These restaurant people, the founders, I think so. They saw an opportunity there, whether they wanted to see it or not. That they had to shift online, whether there was these small restaurants or large restaurants who were purely working on, let's say, retail basis. Now they had to actually shift online, get into this big space of e-commerce, and really put their foot forward to be there, present there. And as you mentioned, these big mumbo jumbos that are Zomato and Swiggy, they now have their foot in it, but at the same time are costing some great pennies to these people, right? So you coming in and feeling the need of it while you guys were struggling was something great, because you might have also had the idea of doing something differently or continue with it even if you guys were running in loss to make something, but you chose the right time at the right place and decided something great was actually good. But at the same time, now what I wanted to understand was that these are directly or indirectly, let's say, your competitors, Zomato or Swiggy. Now, how does that affect what you're doing and where you're going with your idea?
Absolutely. I think that's a great question, right? So, I think when we started Thrive, right,
Hmm.
the way we looked at Zomato and Swiggy is not as a direct but an indirect competitor.
Right.
Because while we provided a direct ordering platform, Zomato and Swiggy was like an aggregator, right? So the like for like comparison is a Shopify to an Amazon, correct? If
Hmm.
you look at it from the retail perspective.
Right.
Now, keeping that in mind, uh, our business model today is commission driven, correct? Even for direct. So for direct,
Hmm.
our base rate is a 3% commission, and then we charge a
Okay.
payment gateway fee on top of that, correct?
Okay.
Now,
Hmm.
keeping in mind that we are commission driven, keeping in mind that we're actually fighting for that same pie with
Hmm.
Zomato and Swiggy, right? So for an end user, uh, they will either order from Zomato or they'll order from one of our restaurant partners on Thread. Correct. So we're fighting
Right.
for the same target market, right? Now, the fact that the reason why we kept the rates low, right, is because we actually don't help restaurants directly generate demand. Correct. The
Okay.
restaurants are responsible for generating their own demand. What we do is we provide them with access to certain tools that they
Hmm.
can leverage to kind of generate demand and to re-engage customers to keep getting demand back. Correct.
Okay.
Now, having
Hmm.
said that, I think you're right. There's a lot of overlap, right? And while demand generation might sound simple enough, a lot of
Hmm.
restaurants struggle with it today. Correct. They
True.
don't have that understanding. They don't have that know-how and that expertise, right? So
Hmm.
keeping that in mind, we've actually just recently, about 2 weeks back, actually, just launched a consumer platform as well
Okay.
to take on Zomato and Swiggy. This
Wow.
is live only in Mumbai right now, and it's currently in beta. But the idea for us was that we wanted to kind of help these smaller businesses
Hmm.
generate that demand through a platform that we could control. Correct.
Okay.
Now, the
Hmm.
ideology behind this product is going to be very different than what Zomato and Swiggy is. Uh,
Right.
Ordering has become a commodity in India today. Food. It's as easy to get food delivered to your house as it is to get water in your house, frankly.
Right.
Correct. So while we have the infrastructure available for ordering, we are going to be focusing more on social and community-led discovery rather
Hmm.
than algorithmic-led discovery that is currently pushed via Zomato and Swiggy today, right? If you actually open the Zomato app while we're on call right now and you open up the listing, every alternate restaurant that you see, there is an ad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There is. True.
essentially, they're forcing, they're trying to change consumer behavior to basically go and purchase from the brand that is paying them the most, which is completely breaking discovery today, right? Versus
Right.
what they actually originally set out to do. So we believe that there's a big opportunity in this space here, and while
Hmm.
ordering and ordering the ordering side is kind of in place already,
Hmm.
we are looking to kind of make a bigger dent in this market by focusing more on the discovery side because we believe that the love for food is lost in many ways, and we want to kind
True.
of bring that back.
Hmm. But that's very rightly said, because I think so it has all become a more business oriented point of view, more than what it should be, which is for food lovers, which is, accessibility towards food and the luxury of eating whatever you want to eat. But I think so that algorithm is very right. But at the same time, now I think so you are in a very unique space here with Thrive, wherein you are a direct to consumer brand, more like, in terms of this food arena, and there not much competition there, because if we see Swiggy or Zomato, they are big leagues, but at the same time this is not something that is direct to consumer. They are still going through these middlemen and everybody. So now what is your viewpoint on about direct to consumer market or industry, which is actually flourishing a lot these days?
So I think the D2C industry in India is
Hmm.
in a very early stage today, but it's growing very, very rapidly, right?
True.
Uh, I think in the last, I think the pandemic, frankly, has really accelerated a digital adoption on the
Yes.
business side. It has created a lot of infrastructure across the different industries that has made it a lot easier for brands to now get online and start selling directly to customers.
Hmm.
Correct? I think if you look at I think on the consumer side as well, if you look at the kind of penetration that's taking place and the growth in mobile penetration and internet penetration, right, has essentially made it easy for anyone to access the internet and now kind of access all of these things. So that itself also facilitates a lot of growth on that side in terms of consumer demand. And I think if you look at a lot of D2C, at least from a food industry perspective, right, there's been a lot of category creation of sorts in very niche categories that D2C brands have been coming up in, right?
True.
From an epigamian Greek yogurt to someone who's doing healthy alternatives for ice cream, like
Yeah.
a Go Zero or a Notto. So
Hmm.
it's becoming very, very interesting. I think consumer demands are also changing rapidly. People want more convenience, they want more choice, they want healthier options, they want premium options, and this has become a very, very big opportunity for a lot of brands to kind of come in and uh, uh,
True.
take some business here.
Hmm. And I think so. It's more like people are understanding this consumer psychology without even consumers understanding it themselves, because they might not feel the need of it right now, but once a product or a service like this comes up, they actually feel that it's very unique. They want to try it, and people are very receptive to whatever is coming their way, because the industry is changing, quite frankly, very rapidly, and actually going hand in hand with the technology itself. Now, when I talk about technology, Krishi, I think so logistics is still something that is lagging behind when it comes to all of these industries and their way of working. So is it somewhere or the other also hampering your process of working or your services?
So I'll address logistics from the perspective of hyperlocal logistics, since that is my area of forte and that's the industry I work in today. Now,
Right.
very frankly speaking, right, if I had to launch Thrive in 2018, it would not be possible, correct? Because there was no infrastructure. I think
True.
2019 and early 2020, as just pre-pandemic, is when a lot of brands started, a lot of these logistics companies started building out the relevant infrastructure that
Hmm.
could support D2C brands to kind of build out their own logistics or scale with them, right?
Right.
So we were very, very lucky in terms of timing, not just in terms of the fact that we were able to turn it around in a market like during the pandemic, but also
Hmm.
had access to the right infrastructure at the right time when we actually launched this, right?
Right.
Now, having said that, I think logistics has been one very large focus area for us, because while we don't have our own fleet, we have
Hmm.
a bunch of different partners that we work with very, very closely, right? And
Right.
over the last 2 years, infrastructure has grown drastically. Correct. So earlier, I remember when we started off, we worked with, say, a Shadowfax and Shadowfax, a VFast, and a Dunzo. Today, we have about six other partners that we work with pan India. Correct. So
Right.
I think logistics has become very accessible today.
Hmm.
The technology infrastructure has become very, very accessible. This means that we
True.
are able to create good experiences for consumers. Everything from sharing the rider details to showcasing where the rider is on the map. Everything is actually possible via this infrastructure today, right? And I think
Hmm.
more importantly, we also are able to identify, say, ETAs, how long a rider will take to come to a restaurant or how long they
Yeah.
can go to deliver
Right.
it. So these kind of things were not available, and we've been able to leverage these insights and this infrastructure to optimize on our logistics and our services as well because of this. So I would say it's not lacking anymore. I think there's definitely scope for improvement, but I feel like we've reached a point in the last 2 years where there are enough players in the market, players that are growing. There is enough demand to cater to, so they are motivated by that. And there is constant innovation on the technology side, which enables platforms like us to keep creating better experiences for our customers. I think every day we're looking at different, I mean, the landscape is changing, right? It's constantly evolving. There are always
Right.
new platforms and new touch points to interact with customers. There's
Hmm.
always updates happening across the entire ecosystem, right? I'll give an example of something that we've been working on recently. We're actually building a experience for ordering on WhatsApp today with
Okay.
Haptic and with Meta. And
Right.
essentially, you can place an order on a WhatsApp chat like you do on
Hmm.
on a digital storefront, right? So, a similar experience. You adding items to cart, looking at the catalog, looking at what your cart at checkout, and then making a payment all from that one WhatsApp interface. Correct. Now, these things are still in early days. We are very far from product market fit here, but it is a start point, and it's a touch point that, frankly, is accessible to every single Indian, pretty much, right? I think WhatsApp has the highest penetration in India from any
Yeah, yeah.
consumer app. So,
Hmm.
a point I'm trying to make is that technology is always evolving. There is always new ways to engage and new touch points that you can kind of associate with consumers on. So the idea for
Hmm.
companies like us is to kind of facilitate these kind of interactions through various touch points. So even with Thrive, while restaurants can set up their direct ordering channel, they can now also start selling on WhatsApp. They can also actually sell on platforms like Paytm through the mini apps program. They can sell through
Right.
SBI and so on and
Wow.
so forth as well, right? So leveraging different consumer ecosystems through one channel.
Hmm. That's actually great because one thing, one mini question here, Krishi, because it reminded something you said reminded me of it, that consumer feedback and consumer talking to these consumers, getting their feedback, even if it's criticism or something that can be improved. Is it something that you and your brand also focuses on? Because I see that maybe hashtag loyalty is a very a brand that has been set up since a long time now, but Thrive is still something that has a lot of scope of improvement and is going ahead with these new things, new trends, and changing times, as you just mentioned. So is it something that they also, like, you guys also focus on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think customer feedback is absolutely key. In fact, with Thrive, given that we launched the consumer application right now, right? So our digital
Hmm.
ordering setup for direct ordering is very stable. Correct. So we have stable infrastructure there. We've iterated on products basis feedback, and we have got to a point where we're doing very well on that side, right? But the consumer application now obviously is a completely new product, and
Hmm.
our approach to solving for discovery is very, very new, frankly. And there's going to be a lot of experiences that we end up creating that the industry is not seen, right? So that's very exciting. But at the same time, customer feedback is critical. So I think we went live 2 weeks back. We have maybe around 2,500 installed so far. We've not marketed except for a few close set of customers so far. But we've conducted over, I think, 150 customer interviews and sent out
Wow.
surveys to collect feedback after that. Because it is very important for us to keep understanding pain points customers are facing, keep collecting and understanding experiences and lags in experiences, and working towards solving those pain points or solving those problems for customers so we can build a better product for them, right? And even future upgrades, when I look at discovery, we actually been conducting interviews with customers with prototypes to keep getting
Wow.
feedback on experiences that we are creating so that we're
Hmm.
putting out the right market experience in the market. So it's
Wow.
absolutely critical and important, not just on the consumer side, but even on the business B2B side for us.
But that's great because I think so Thrive also came from somewhere or the other, came from there only, where you understood that what consumer is missing these days and what exactly could add to their experience that is already there, already flourishing and already existing. So I think so it's a very important and crucial process in building a brand, really. So kudos
Absolutely.
to you guys for that. But at the same time, now if we see the future or the trends that might come up in the future, where do you see the D2C industry standing in the coming years, or what trends or something like that changing in the coming times?
So I think D2C is the entire industry itself. I'm personally very bullish about it, not just for food, but across multiple industries, right? Furniture,
Hmm.
fashion, XYZ, right? I think we've been seeing a lot of we've seen there's been a lot of emergence of very interesting brands, very niche premium brands catering to different sorts of customer personas that have come through here,
Right.
right? So I see the industry growing very, very rapidly. I feel like there's a lot of scope for innovation for a lot of
Hmm.
these products to kind of come up and take pick up kind of a large chunk of the market. And I think that with changing consumer preferences, right, a lot of these things are a lot of brands are going to kind of come in that focus on those niche preferences as well. For example, sustainability is something that is now becoming a lot more important to everyone. Correct. So there might be a
Hmm.
lot of brands that kind of end up coming up on that side of things across fashion, across different industries as well, right? Similarly, with food, it's all about health. Correct. I think veganism is becoming more and more popular across India right now. And there are a lot of interesting brands coming up right now that cater to that audience as well. So I think for D2C, it's going to be all about kind of keeping track about changing consumer behavior and consumer demands and preferences, and kind of building products that could cater to those preferences. I also see a lot of existing brands, maybe even looking at getting to parallel industries, a fashion brand getting into furniture and stuff like that, as long as we're within that
Yeah.
niche.
It has become that easy, I think so. I mean, with the accessibility and the technology making it all possible, it has become very easy for brands to do this. Because even if we see if the brand works or not, that is something else. Or if a product or a service becomes a brand or not, that's something else. But they try to enter this market. That's how accessible it is. And because I remember earlier days, it used to be that the product or the service has to be strong enough to survive in this arena. But with D2C, I feel that it has made it possible for people young or old to just come in, set up their process without much of investment, I think so. And but still maybe thrive in a few years, but still they can access this place very easily at the same time now. Right, please go on.
Absolutely. So, like, if you look at retail as an industry, right, I think
Hmm.
Shopify has done a great job. You can set up
Right.
an online store in 3,000 rupees a month or lesser, correct? And upload a catalog and you're good to start selling. You don't need anything else, correct?
Yeah.
As long as you have some product available, some inventory available, you can set up an
Hmm.
online store, start running ads, start marketing, start reaching out to customers. Everything is so accessible today. And with Shopify, I think the really good thing that I personally really like is they've built a fantastic app marketplace ecosystem. So even if you're not a expert, the products or the applications available there to help you with everything from digital marketing across channels like Facebook and Instagram to sending push notifications, right? It becomes so easy. And then they have connected logistics as well. So they built a complete ecosystem, making it so easy for any probably retail brand to kind of go online and start selling directly to customers.
Hmm, right. But this reminded me of one question that now we have established this fact that with COVID coming in and everything, people have turned towards online options more and the percentages have drastically changed. But at the same time, do you think retail plays a role or plays as a threat to you guys in any way?
To us as Thrive,
As Thrive, yeah.
no,
It could be like,
so Thrive. So firstly, Thrive predominantly works in the F&B industry, right? We predominantly work with
right.
restaurants, correct?
Hmm,
And essentially, our thesis is very simple. We believe that with Zomato and Swiggy and the aggregators in their current avatar, right? There's been a big disconnect. So I think earlier when you used to order food from a restaurant or when you go to a restaurant, you always associated with a restaurant. Today, if you conduct a survey and ask 10 people near you where did they order from the last time, 8 out of 10 will either tell you Zomato or Swiggy. Correct? So they've
true, very true.
disassociated that brand from the order and associated Zomato and Swiggy as the brand. So Thrive's
Yeah.
objective has always been not to become that middleman, but to facilitate that direct relationship between the brand and the customer. So to facilitate that D2C relationship a little more and better.
Yeah, exactly, because that's exactly what I wanted to ask. Because with these online, the online percentage becoming so high, I don't think so there's any scope left of that those old traditions where people used to go to the restaurant themselves, have some personal relationships. But you trying to sort of rebuild with your online imagination is really really great. But at the same time, now we have already talked about logistics, but there was this very big trend of logistics flexibility coming in 2022. Now what's your opinion on that?
Could you re-articulate that question?
Sure. So logistic flexibility, as we saw after the COVID, or after, as you mentioned, 2019 itself, we saw that it became more accessible and there were more players coming into the game itself, helping you guys. So what's your take on that? Because you as a brand is something that is directly in connection to these logistic companies and all that.
So I think the logistics ecosystem in general is constantly evolving, right? There are a lot of new players coming, and I think funding is also still continuing in that space because D2C as an industry and demand for such services are only growing as the D2C industry grows, right?
True.
So I think I don't see. I think that market is very very interesting. At the same time, there's a lot of innovation happening on in fleet management, in and in other areas as well that support logistics as a service. Correct.
Hmm.
The entire industry is kind of becoming a lot more optimal. It's optimizing itself. Companies are constantly innovating and working towards creating better experiences, because at the end of the day, that is all that matters. Whether they are
Hmm.
consumer facing or they're working with a party that's consumer facing, that fleet optimization helps them optimize their fleet, but more importantly, quality needs to be controlled as well. So technology is playing a very, very big role to kind of assist with both of these items.
True, very rightly said. And now, since we're coming to the end of the episode, but just wanted to ask you one thing that, now there are many companies and brands that come in, but very few that have some original idea and something that sets them apart and really understands the need or niche that they want to cater to. And your brand is one such, Krishi, that actually evolved from a very brilliant and unique idea, I would say. So, what would be that one piece of advice to these people who might be trying to get into this D2C industry with something or some thought process?
So I think my biggest advice is talk to more customers. I don't think a lot of people do that enough, and that's something that I personally did not do enough for the first few years of running hashtag loyalty. I
Hmm.
feel like since we launched Thrive, I think it's become a mandate in our, like, at least within product and certain teams, to have at least say 20 to 25 conversations a week, correct, with
Wow.
customers, because there's so many insights that you can actually pull out and generate. Thrive was born out of feedback. It was born out of customer conversations, right? You would have never got it without that. And every single bit of innovation since then that we've worked on has come through customers. Correct. So that is the single biggest feedback I would give to anyone, because that's something I didn't do enough of, and I learned it late in my journey. No, absolutely. I think you're spot on there. With hashtag loyalty, though, we were a pure play B2B business. Correct. So while we had a consumer side where people would actually earn loyalty points and get communication, it was more brand to customer driven than hashtag loyalty to customer, right? And that's kind of translated to our journey with Thrive as well, because as I said, we're not looking to be the middleman. We're looking to connect the brand directly to the customer and facilitate that or foster that relationship.
Right, right. But all the best to you with that, and I hope it thrives further because I'm loving the name and I'm loving how I can wordplay with it. So, including it as much as I can. But thank you so much, Krishi, for joining us, and it was a really insightful conversation.
Thanks for the invite to be here. It was a pleasure speaking to you today.